Could more people have been saved on the island of Maui? Hawaii officials confirmed the warning system never sounded. Authorities are still combing through hundreds of houses as hope for those still missing starts to fade. More questions for the government here in the UK about who was responsible for moving asylum seekers onto the Bibi Stockholm barge before it had been given the all-clear for Legionella. Further attempts to turn people away from smoking cigarette packs in the UK could soon carry anti-smoking messages and advice inside the packet as well as outside. But will it be enough to convince smokers to quit? But first, to the ongoing recovery efforts in Hawaii. 96 people are known to have died in wildfires on Maui, with officials warning that number is likely to rise. Governor Josh Green said more than 2,700 buildings had been destroyed in the historic town of Lahaina. Hundreds of people are still missing, and only about 3% of the affected area has been searched. Residents say they had no official warning before they fled for their lives, raising difficult questions about the effectiveness of the emergency response and whether more people could have been saved. Early warning sirens failed to sound, according to officials. A failure now under investigation by Hawaii's Eternal Attorney General. Our correspondent Nomi Iqbal has more details. For and along the coastline, a once bright and busy town lays lifeless and abandoned. The historic Lahaina is now nothing but ashes and dust. It looks like it's been bombed. Officials are still combing through waters left to find the dead. There's a lot of loss here, and I think we're going to see significantly higher numbers in the coming days as our professionals from FEMA and Maui Fire Police do their job. For those who survived, hope can be found in prayer. People have gathered in makeshift churches to provide support. Like, why did this happen, you know? But today, because of his words, Pastor, it brings me more. I feel more comfortable and more unpleased, but questions are being asked why residents weren't warned about the fire. Were early warning systems used or did they malfunction? Pretty much everybody's saying the same thing, that we had no warning, no evacuation notice, so a lot of people were not prepared. You know that by the time they find out that it was time to go, okay, it was almost too late. There's a review underway to work out exactly what happened. It'll take years for the island to recover. President Biden declared it a disaster last week, releasing federal funds to support people on the ground. I want the people of Maui to know that, Governor, we're going to be with you every step throughout this response. We don't know exactly what caused the wildfires, but many scientists say it's proof of a climate emergency, and that is a top priority for President Biden and his White House. His opponents have a different view on climate change, but with much of Maui destroyed and the death toll rising, it could be seen as a wake-up call. Nomer Iqbal, BBC News, Washington. And let's go directly to Maui. My colleague Helena Humphrey standing by for us there. Helena, very good to see you. Bring us up to date on what is happening where you see me. I'm here on the road to Lahaina, and in fact, if you just take a look over here, it is over that hill that the community of Lahaina lies, a community which lies in a state of utter devastation and destruction, just so much of it, 80 of it now destroyed. And what you can see behind me is another roadblock which has popped up, because we're seeing a lot of these roadblocks now because so many people are just trying to get back and trying to bring much needed aid. But you can see it's being enforced by the U.S. military right now, because at the moment they are only allowing in emergency workers and contractors, and that is because those sensitive, delicate recovery operations go on. We've been hearing more about that from the governor, and he's been saying that they expect to uncover to find up to 20 bodies a day now in these efforts. An utterly devastating death toll which we're seeing right now. He says we may not even know the full extent of how many lives have been lost for at least 10 days. We've also been hearing more updates from FEMA in terms of what is being deployed on the ground here. But many people are asking, why isn't there more aid coming in from the U.S. mainland? In terms of whether there'll be a visit from President Biden, FEMA has been saying that they don't have a timeline on that. And they wouldn't want something to distract from the recovery operations. Helena, we mentioned the questions have been mounting about what happened and why people were not warned. What is the latest on that? Well, those questions continue to grow. The sadness goes to frustration, it goes to anger. Firstly, with regards to those early warning systems and why they didn't sound. We know that the Attorney General has launched a probe into that. But also now about wider infrastructure on this island as well. You can see behind me here some of the power lines. These power lines, operated by Hawaii Electric, provide power for 95% of this island. And now a class action lawsuit has been filed against that company, asking essentially why the electricity wasn't turned off when there was a warning from the National Weather Service about the very real and deadly prospect of those wildfires. Now the company, for its part, says that it doesn't comment on pending litigation. It says that its focus right now is restoring power on the island. And it also said that it doesn't have a pro forma operation of turning automatically the power off in these kinds of circumstances. It says it has to be put in through an emergency request. But I think it's fair to say, as we continue to see this devastating death toll grow and with so many people unaccounted for, we can expect to see more and more of these questions in the days to come. In Helena, you've been hearing some of the heartbreaking stories of people who've been directly affected by these fires. Can you share with us what they've been telling you? Assuming people here are utterly traumatized, and I think it's fair to say with that list of missing people, which is around 1,000 right now, they're barely able to process what's happened. They're barely able to comprehend the fact that they have lost absolutely everything. If you just take a look down here, what you can see is the port here, and this is the harbor. And you've seen a lot of private citizens just using any means they can to come out to try and get on boats, to use jet skis to try and get over however they can to get aid into Lahaina because the needs there are so great. We're talking about food, shelter, clean drinking water. People have really lost everything. While I was down there, I met a man called Ryan, and he was out walking his dog. He told me that he'd lost everything, and what he was trying to do essentially was to take his dog around to try and offer some emotional support to other people, just to have time with that animal, to try and feel some love, some warmth amid all of this devastation. He is sleeping out in the open. He tells me he's lost everything, and he said, right now, I just feel helpless. That was his parting message as we finished our conversation. Despite that feeling of helplessness, the other thing that you notice here, and it is just difficult to communicate how much people feel this, but they are so resilient. And they keep saying that Maui is strong, we will rebuild. And local people here are looking after each other, and they're doing whatever they can, even if they've lost everything. And it's incredible to watch. It is incredibly moving. Helena, thank you so much for reporting on the story for us.